Hello, welcome to just kind of a video summary of what was covered in English 9, periods 5 and 6, either Thursday or Friday when you're supposed to have them. We had a few people who were absent, so I just wanted to make sure that you had the resources and the information that you need. Remember, whenever you guys are gone, to check LMS. I need to do a better job of recording when it actually happens and posting it, but I'm posting it here on Saturday morning so you guys can get caught up, hopefully before next class. You do have some things that were assigned and done. So anyway, the very first thing that we did, I'm going to share my screen here really quickly, is you were handed out a Quizlet study guide with 24 terms. There's 25 now because you're supposed to write your 25th one there. And what I had people do for the prime time, just kind of a review of the elements of a story. I had 5th period was actually given a handout. For 6th period, I just had them draw this little pyramid diagram and number it. And was given the challenge of seeing, every student was given the challenge of seeing if they could name the 6 parts of a story diagram. And we talked about those really quickly, so I want to just go through those. You'll notice that I had people write exposition, which is being blocked out right there. This is the beginning part of a story, and that would be what goes in number 1. Here on the story diagram is exposition. That's the beginning part of the story where characters and setting are introduced. And the reason it's flat in the pyramid is because basically it's not always the most exciting as the character describes and introduces characters and places just to get a feel for the who and where of the story. 2 is where it starts to get exciting. It starts to hook and change direction a little bit. And that is actually number 10 on your study guide here, the inciting incident, which can also be called the narrative hook. It's the part of the story where the conflict and action gets introduced, and you want to keep reading, hopefully. Okay. Number 3, the story starts to build. 3 and 5 are kind of opposites. Well, number 3 is just the rising action. It's events or complications that build to number 4, which is the climax, the high point of intensity, the snap in Avengers Infinity War, the I Am Your Father of The Empire Strikes Back. Those are climaxes. Finding out what release means in The Giver. Those are all examples of climax. It's the point of highest emotional involvement and intensity, and it's often the turning point of the story. There's been a conflict, something that you're trying to figure out, and it just builds and builds. 5 is called the falling action, which is number 7 on your study guide there. It's the action that is the result of the climax and leads toward number 6, the resolution, the part of the plot where the conflict is resolved. And all stories have a resolution, and not all of them are satisfying to readers or movie watchers. Sometimes 4, 5, and 6 all kind of happen like really closely together, and there's not much explanation about, you know, how it ends, but it just ends, and that's the resolution. But there's problems maybe or questions that are left unanswered, or you are watching some series and the season ends and there's all these cliffhangers and it drives you crazy. There is a type of resolution, which is number 5 on your list, and it is not pronounced how it looks. It's denouement. And it's a type of resolution that's neat and tidy and ties up everything and answers the questions. And so that is kind of what we did right there. As we talked about story map, story diagram, and it was fun to just discuss and see that you guys are already kind of familiar with that. We are going to be beginning the short story unit. We actually began that in class and started reading our first story, and I will get to that next for you guys. Okay, I do apologize for just kind of the awkward delays as I try to hit pause recording. So I have a student who was gone from 5th period on Thursday. I just kind of want to show you where you can find these assignments in LMS. If you actually go over on class calendar, the assignments are there. You won't find that handout, so what I want you to do is go to the short story unit, Pride of Man. Right now, there's a handout section and an assignment section. You click handouts and you can find the 9th grade literary terms handout, which I was just showing you on the screen right there. The next thing you can do is click the Monkey's Paw literature story. And it was brought to my attention that a lot of people read this last year in 8th grade, so I apologize for that. That will help me next year, but there's never anything wrong with rereading something and getting something new out of it, and we'll use it. It will make it kind of a familiar story that will help you as you look at different literary devices and terms in use. So I'd like you to print that out, and you probably don't have your book, so I'm going to try to just send a link to you guys for the story so that you can read it. It's a story about 3 wishes, and this is not due next class. What I would like you to do is to try to do questions 1 through 5, and you're going to read up to the part where Mr. White finds out that, and Mrs. White find out that their first wish is granted, but with kind of a catch and a cost, and he passes out. If you have your textbooks, there's a little page break, and right before Roman numeral number 3, we're basically reading Roman numeral 1 and Roman numeral number 2. We read that together. We had students pick different parts and read. And so anyway, that is the assignment. And I want to just go through the questions. The first one is just, and do answer in complete sentences, capitalize the first word, punctuation at the end, complete thought. A lot of times if you're having trouble knowing how to write a complete sentence, just include the question in your answer. If I could have one wish, I would wish for unlimited wishes. Don't answer that. That's kind of a cheap, that's a great, clever answer actually, but that is kind of how you develop a complete sentence answer. Question number 2 and 3, you're just looking for quotations that, and what I mean by that is just anything in the text, anything in the story that helps you. Number 2 is about mood. The mood is the feeling a reader gets as he or she reads a story. And W.W. Jacobs, who's the author of The Monkey's Paw, really does a good job of describing the setting and creating a somewhat dark and foreboding mood. A hint for you is like right at the beginning, there's some wording that kind of describes that. Bless me, I am so sorry. I was going to try to pause, but I could not stop that sneeze. So anyway, that's question number 2. Question number 3, as you're paying attention to the different characters, the White family, Mr. and Mrs. White and their son Herbert, have a visitor who comes, and he has the monkey's paw, and he explains how it works, but he has some feelings and some just kind of opinions about the paw. He says some things. I want you to pay attention to what his attitude is about the paw and copy down a quote that reflects his attitude. When you get to that point, and I realize that if you've already read it, predictions are going to be pretty easy, but just make a prediction anyway, okay? It's kind of cheating, but if you remember, you can say what you think is going to happen. And then question number 5, like I said, Mr. and Mrs. White are granted their first wish, but what goes wrong that makes that possible? I will make sure that you guys have a link to the story, because I'm guessing that you might not have your textbooks at home. If you do 5th period, I'd like you to, if you can, be caught up when you come back on Monday, and 6th period will be Tuesday when the assignment is due. So anyway, that is pretty much it. What we did the last part of class is we played a game called Quizlet Live. introduce people to that with the iPads, where we just kind of started studying those 25 terms, which you will be tested on eventually. No time super soon, but it will be coming, and we'll be reviewing that as we do our short story unit. So thank you guys for checking this out, and we will see you soon.